I was having a conversation with a one on one client last week, and what she said really startled me and stopped me in my tracks. She said, Laura, I keep waiting for someone to help me, and I keep asking, and yet nobody's coming to help me. I've asked my doctor, my physical therapist, my occupational therapist, I've asked the hospital, and yet still no one is helping me. And that really hit me and broke my heart because this is the conversation that nobody prepares you for. This is that gap in care. And if you haven't downloaded the gap report yet, I'm going to drop it in the comments below because it's something you need to take a look at. Because you get this diagnosis and you get the medications, you get a list of follow up appointments. But what you don't get as a caregiver is someone sitting you down and saying, here's how you'll know when you need more support. And here's what that support looks like. And here's how you're going to ask for it without feeling all that guilt, without first feeling like you're drowning. And if you're caring for someone with dementia and you're wondering if it's time to bring help in your home or what kind of help you even need, then this conversation is for you. Because the truth is, most caregivers wait too long to ask for help. You're waiting until you're exhausted, or you're waiting until there's a crisis, or you're waiting until you can barely keep your head above water. But here's what I want you to know. Asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. Or when you say, I can't handle this anymore, what you're really doing is stepping up and owning it. And that's when things can start to change. And first, I want to talk about what your body is trying to tell you. I know so many caregivers, and you never pay attention to your own warning signs because our bodies keep score, even when our minds are trying to push through some of our biggest problems. Your body is still keeping that score. Are you waking up tired no matter how much sleep that you're getting? Are you becoming more sick more often? Are you snapping at people that you love? And not because you're angry at them, but because you're running on empty all the time. That same person that I was talking about, I'm going to call her Sarah. Her mom has been living with her for the last 2 years with an Alzheimer's diagnosis. And Sarah, when she originally came to me, was already exhausted, but yet she wasn't asking for help. I kept offering, but she was saying she could do it. But now she says she feels like she's disappearing and that she doesn't even recognize herself anymore. And I don't want you to get to the same point that she is. So when your body starts feeling and you start feeling more aches and pains, more sick, your back hurts, or you're feeling more depressed, that's your heart telling you something important. Because when caregiving starts erasing who you are instead of adding to who you're becoming, it's time to think about bringing in some additional support. And if you're a caregiver who's been avoiding social situations because you can't leave your person alone, or you're canceling your own doctor's appointments because you're too tired, or if you're laying awake every single night thinking, what happens to your person if something happens to you? Because these are not signs of dedication. These are signs that the load is too heavy for you. And that's okay. Another situation where I encourage caregivers to seek help is when safety is a concern, because this is where a lot of us can get kind of stuck. We think safety means preventing every single situation that can happen, but real safety is about quality of life within those reasonable boundaries. Because if you're one of those people when you're trying to sleep and your person is wandering all about, and you're laying there at night when you should be sleeping and you're listening and listening and listening for that person to start their wandering, or if you're worried because they're now getting confused about their medications and you're worried that they're going to overdose or underdose on something, or maybe your person is having trouble preparing meals and they're actually forgetting to eat. If your person is living alone or even with you and you're afraid to leave them alone because they're not completing those basic tasks, those activities of daily living, these types of changes typically require additional support. And here's something that I want you to hear. You can be the most loving, the most dedicated caregiver in the whole wide world. and still need help with safety because dementia changes the game. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. This is that natural progression, and this is what nobody prepares you for. You know there's going to be a decline, but where the gap is people telling you this is what's going to happen, and this is what you need to do, or this is what's available out there. And so, what can real help actually look like? Because I know a lot of the caregivers that I've worked with, they tend to do this all or nothing approach. It's either I'm going to take care of my person forever and nobody is ever going to help me, or I can't handle this anymore and I'm putting my person into some type of home, whether that means memory care, assisted living, senior housing. But what I find is there's no in between. It's either this or it's this. But there are a ton of options in between. And the gap is you don't know what those options are. Or maybe you've heard about them in passing, but don't know how to find them. So, the first type of help I want to talk about is in home help. And this can come in many different forms. It can come as skilled nursing, it can come as hospice, it can come as private pay from an agency or private pay out of your pocket for somebody that you might know. And it can start small. Maybe it's somebody coming in just a few hours a week so you can go grocery shopping without worry, or so you can go to church or attend an event, book club. I don't know, but it can start kind of small. And maybe it's with a companion, somebody that you know that you can, I don't know, ask from church to come in and hire for a few hours. Or maybe it's somebody at book club that you can have come in for just a few hours a week so that you can go to your doctor's appointment, so that you can get out of your home and that you can breathe. If you're going to do it through an agency, well, that looks a little bit different because sometimes they have a requirement for a certain set number of hours that they require you to pay for in advance. Hospice and home care and physical therapy and occupational therapy, those are things that people like me order for someone to come into your home if your person has a legitimate diagnosis that supports it. And that type of care is usually covered by your insurance. But there's also adult daycare programs. I know that those are few and far between. At least where I live, there's not as many as there used to be, but this can be a beautiful middle ground for you. Your person gets some social interaction because the activities are actually designed for them and their cognitive level, and you get time to breathe, time to relax, time to work, time to remember who you were outside of caregiving. And then there's senior housing. Living in their own home, of course, is always an option, or living with you. There's senior housing, like senior apartments, assisted living, transitional care, and memory care units. And these are reasonable options. These aren't giving up on your person or yourself to feel defeated, because when done right, these communities are designed specifically for people with dementia. They have trained staff in dementia care, activities that meet your people where they are, and safety measures you simply cannot replicate at home. You can become the spouse again, you can become the daughter again, you can become the relative again. Either way, when you put your person into a home, it gives you that little bit of breathing space. Typically, those are private pay. And inside of our membership, we talk about what that looks like to go and interview those homes. We have a complete guide that walks you through step by step how to find the right fit for you. And this is something that I really want you to understand. The goal of dementia care, the goal of being a caregiver, isn't to do this alone until you can't do it anymore, which I know so many of you do. Why do I know that? Because I've worked with thousands of caregivers. I see you, I see what you're doing. But the gap that we're filling is to know that you need to create a care plan that honors both you and your person. And you can start doing this ahead of time, even if it's not appropriate. You can look at assisted livings and memory care units, even though you think you're going to keep your person at home all of the time, because who knows? Life happens, and you don't know what's going to happen to either you, to them, or to anybody else, or where you might need to be in 2, 3, or 4 years. So, going and interviewing a few assisted livings, even when you're with your person when they first get that diagnosis, that's how you create successful care plans, staying ahead. You don't have to stay all the way ahead, but just little increments and knowing what you prefer in one building over the next. I had this conversation with my very own family when we were caring for my grandmother. My mom and her siblings kept saying they could handle taking care of my grandmother at home, and then they tried senior housing. But the truth is, there's a huge difference between handling it and thriving through it, and those look very different. And the question you should be asking yourself isn't, can I keep doing this? The question is, what does a good care plan look like for both of us, me and my person? Maybe good care means bringing in a companion 3 times a week. Maybe it means finding an adult daycare program where your person can engage with others while you're at work or rest. Maybe it means transitioning them to memory care or a community where they have specialized care, and you can go back to being their daughter or spouse instead of the full time caregiver. And look, I understand the guilt is real. I know what that feels like. People think they're supposed to do this all by themselves. But love isn't measured by how much you sacrifice. Love is measured by how well you care for someone's whole life, and that includes you. You are really important. You're that driving engine. And your person with dementia, they need you, and they need you to be healthy. They need you to be rested and emotionally available. They need you to still be you. When you're running on empty, everyone suffers. And look, here's the thing that I've learned with caring for people at end of life. There's this moment of clarity where people gain like this, like they used to be. And in that moment of clarity or moments of clarity, a lot of the things that I hear are they don't want or they didn't want their family member to sacrifice their health or everything, meaning their life, to care the way that they've been caring. They want and need to know that their loved ones are okay too. And remember, we don't understand everything about dementia. And so we often think, oh, they don't understand us because what comes out of their mouth isn't what I expected to hear. But I believe that they're comprehending a lot more than what we think. So if you're watching this and something is hitting your heart too, and you're feeling that tug in your chest that says, well, maybe she's right. Maybe it's time. I want you to trust that feeling. You don't have to have all of the answers today, and you don't have to even make all of those decisions at once. But you can start having these conversations. You can start looking at options. You can start asking, what does good support look like for my family? Because here's what I know after walking alongside families through this journey. The families who thrive are the ones who are building those support systems before they're desperate for them. My one-on-one clients come to me exhausted, and I help them find the help that they need. I help them fill in those gaps where they think that they should be doing this all by themselves and help them find support, whether it's a support group online or whether it's something in their local community. But you don't need permission to do this. You can do this on your own. It's okay. If you need permission, I'm giving it to you now. Get the help you need because you deserve support. Your person deserves the best care possible. And sometimes the most loving thing that you can do is recognize when that care requires more hands, more expertise, more resources than you can provide alone. And that's okay. You're not alone in this, and you definitely don't have to have it all figured out by yourself. If you're realizing it might be time for more support and you're wondering what that could look like, I want to hear from you in the comments below. What's one sign that you've been noticing that you think that it's time for more help? And until next time, I will be here caring for you while you're caring for them. See you next week.